G'day everyone, as you may have seen in the new DLC No Compromise, No Surrender, there are some changes to the way the Navy works in Heartsvine 4. Now I know for a lot of you, the Navy can be the hardest part of the game to understand, and to that end, I'm collaborating with Paradox Interactive to bring you this guide about all the changes and to teach you everything you need to know about the new system. Now, the new DLC releases on the 20th of November, and the base game will be free to play from then until the 24th of November. So if you are interested in checking out HOI 4, or if you want to pick up the DLC for yourself, please head to the link below. Now, for this guide, I'm going to assume that you know the basics of the Navy, so how to make your ship designs, what the different classes are, how to do naval invasions, and all that stuff. If you are brand new to the Navy, please head to the description. I'll link my other guides and videos so you can get yourself up to speed. Today, we're just going to focus on the new changes and the things that are different with No Compromise, No Surrender. I will also be having the DLC active so you guys can see what is included. Now, the changes aren't drastic, and in my view, they actually make the Navy a little bit easier to understand by kind of simplifying things and making them a bit more consistent across the board. The main naval exploit of having a flicker of naval supremacy at the start of a war to get your naval evasions off is a thing of the past, as is setting up 100 different naval invasions of one division each, and having them all only take 7 days to prepare. In this new system, there's a minimum level of naval dominance required to have control over a sea region, which is needed to launch your naval invasions and prevent the enemy from invading you. The level of required naval dominance over an uncontested sea zone varies depending on the sea zone terrain type. So oceans and deep oceans require at least 500 naval dominance, and shallow seas, fjords, and archipelagos all require 250. Another key change is that a task force can only exert naval dominance over one sea zone at a time. So previously, you could have your fleet on strike force and cover a wider range. Doesn't work anymore. You need to have your task force specifically set to a sea region for it to be able to impact dominance there. Naval dominance builds up over time now as well, so it's not something where you can kind of flick your Navy on and off. You're actually going to have your ships out in that sea zone, and then, if the enemy has their fleet out as well, they're going to have to engage and contest that region. You need to have 2/3 control for you to have sufficient naval dominance for it to be under your control to launch your invasions. The naval missions themselves have also changed a little bit in how they function. You can see just above these missions here the impact they have on the control in a sea zone. So the patrol mission is going to provide, I guess, the maximum amount of naval dominance that your task force can have. If you select a specific task force and then hover over each of the missions, it will actually tell you the amount of naval dominance that they will exert. So it does take time for that to build up. I've got this fleet set to the East China Sea and the South China Sea. If we put them on patrol, they'll head out into that region. We hit play, you can see that control ratio increasing over time the longer that they're in that sea zone, up to their maximum level. The other part of it too is I've just put my fleets back in the port, and you can actually see that the naval dominance has remained for a short period, and now it will decrease over time. So, more rapidly than it gains, but, it's a sort of a gradual increase and then, relatively rapid decrease once they stop operating. Now, the Strike Force mission has also changed a bit. This will multiply, the existing strength of a task force in a sea zone. It still works the same way in that they'll stay in port until a naval combat or an enemy fleet's detected. Then they'll come out of port to engage. However, Strike Force on its own does not actually provide any bonus to naval dominance. So you can see here we've set our fleet to active and nothing's happening. So you will actually now need to have at least a ship active in that sea zone on the patrol mission. If we set these 2 destroyers, what we'll see is now our naval dominance starts to increase. So really now the thing that you're going to have to do more often is have like a smaller fleet or a smaller task force active in a region, have your larger fleet on strike force to save your fuel and kind of protect them, and then operate that way and let your dominance grow over time. Convoy raiding also works a little bit differently now as well. It doesn't actually contribute to your naval dominance in a region, but what you can do is use it to reduce a enemy fleet's naval dominance. So for example, if the US was active in the Marinara region and we put our submarines out here, it would actually start reducing their naval dominance gradually over time, in addition to going and, shooting enemy convoys and taking out their ships as well. The convoy escort mission actually kind of has a purpose now. Instead of, impacting naval dominance, like by increasing it, this one actually directly counters the convoy raiding mission. So if you have your light cruisers or destroyers that have got anti-submarine warfare capability, so whether it's like sonar and depth charges and stuff, it will actually reduce the impact of the enemy's submarines on the convoy raiding mission. So this can be a way, if you do have, some excess destroyers and your enemies are convoy raiding you, you can actually put your ships on this mission to kind of help prevent their impact on your naval dominance. The Naval Invasion support mission now actually won't contribute to naval dominance. You will need to have some other vessels that are providing that, and then your Naval Invasion support mission will actually escort your naval invasions to get to the point where they're going. So if you can see, if we actually deactivate our other fleets, then you can see our naval dominance is dropping, because the only fleet on a mission is Naval Invasion support. Another change is that now fleets actually will have a home base that they carry out missions from, and that is what their range is determined by. You can see here that we have this fleet set out of Hiroshima, but if we go ahead and we change that to one of our ports down here, if we go to Bulelu, I don't know how to say that properly, but now you can see that the range actually expands off this dockyard. Now, obviously, that may be a bit annoying for you to have to go around and manually set what their home base is, but the benefit of this is you can actually, you can see the list here is ordered by the largest port size down to the lowest. So you can actually be beneficial for you to station a large fleet in a large port. Look, if that's going to be too much for you, you can actually select the automate home base selection button. And then depending on what sea region they're in, if I set these guys to operate over, let's just say in the Gulf of Thailand, they will update their home base to some place that's closer by. So you can see they've automatically updated that to Taiwan. Aside from the home base, there's also another new fleet setting that you can change, and that is the defensive stance. So this is specifically for planes that have got carriers, and this determines how aggressive their sorties are. So you can change between aggressive, where 100% of the sorties will be of an offensive nature, so targeting enemy ships and aircraft, all the way, sort of going through different levels, to fully defensive, where it'll be defending your own fleets. Now, with all this talk of naval dominance, you're probably wondering how your fleets make up their value of what a benefit they contribute to a particular region. So if you have a look at your naval deployment menu, you can actually see that green number next to each of your ships, what value they actually contribute. Now, this is affected by a couple of different things. When you go into the ship designer, you can actually see its naval dominance value here. If you hover over this number, it will give you the breakdown of what impact it has. So the hull of being a basic carrier itself gives you a base level of 300. Then your speed and range also modify that, as well as the carrier size. So by that, it's referring to the hangar space. So if we were to add another hangar, you can see that's gone from plus 60% to plus 80%. And the naval dominance goes up by about 50. For your heavy ships, it's the same speed and range as well as the base level, and then the other modifier is the heavy attack. So if we were to just cram this full of a lot more heavy attack, you can see 54% as opposed to the 20% or whatever it was before. Now, with the screening ships, so that's your light cruisers and your destroyers, the only thing which impacts on the base level of naval dominance that this ship hull gains you is the speed and the range. So, while being cheaper, you can pump out a lot more of these smaller ships, but they do give significantly less naval dominance. Now, one of the main benefits of having naval dominance is your ability to conduct naval invasions, and the way these work now has also changed. If you have a look at the officer corps, there's actually 3 different options here relating to our naval invasions. The first one is the division capacity per naval invasion. At the moment, this is a value of 6, and this is the maximum number of divisions that you can assign to one particular naval invasion. Before, you would just have a maximum capacity of 12 or 40 divisions that could be preparing a naval invasion at any one time. Works a bit different. So now you have a maximum number of naval invasion plans that you can have active. So for us, we have 2 naval invasion plans, and then each of them can have a maximum capacity of 6 divisions per invasion. So to demonstrate that, I've set these troops up here. You can see on this top naval invasion, there's 6 divisions assigned to it. On this bottom one, we have only 3. And you can see that we've got 3 divisions which are unassigned right now. Now, if we select these other 3 divisions, you'll see that we actually can't create another naval invasion order because our cap has been reached. So this sort of, 2 by 6 doesn't mean we have 12 maximum divisions. It means we can have 2 plans of 6 divisions each. And if you have a look at the preparation time, as well as the naval dominance here, you can see the time it takes to prepare is the same for both. Even though there's only 3 divisions in one and 6 in the other, it's still going to take 50 days each. The naval dominance requirement is the same. You need to have control over the sea region. Again, you can't really spread out your naval invasions all across the coastline anymore. So if you are setting up a naval invasion, you may as well put the maximum number in that attack and then see how that goes. As you would expect, you can increase this through your transport technologies. One change of this actually is that even if you don't start off with the base level of transport ship, you can still set up and conduct your naval invasions. The only difference is you're going to be running off that base level of 4 divisions and 1 naval invasion. And even then, each subsequent level of transport technology only increases these by sort of like a marginal amount. So you get 1 extra naval invasion plan, an extra 2 to it, it reduces the time and everything, which is great. But even going to the landing craft level, so an extra 3 plans, so that would bring you up to a total of 6 naval invasion plans that you can have. Granted, you'd have a lot more divisions, and the final one as well. What would that be? 10, I think. Yeah. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. It's you're going to have stronger individual plans rather than just spamming along a whole coastline. Now, there's no spirits of the Navy at this stage which actually increase the number of plans that you have, and we'll come back to these in a little bit. However, in your Special Forces doctrines, you can actually increase them through your marine technologies. So the first one gives you an extra 2 divisions per invasion, and then the final one on the bottom right side gives you a extra naval invasion plan capacity and reduces your time, gives them a bit more supply. There are some new buildings available as well with this new system, the first one being Naval Headquarters. So you can see this here on the map, we have one in Hiroshima, and this actually allows you to assign an admiral to the Naval Headquarters, and they provide bonuses to any task forces operating in the region here that you can see by the highlighted green sea zones. Now, a naval headquarters has to be constructed in a province which has a port of at least level 8, and then it also can only be in a coastal province, obviously, because that's the only place you get ports. Now, you can see from the map, that's actually quite a significant range out of Hiroshima, and if you hover over this anchor icon here, it actually tells you which task forces are getting the benefit of this admiral stats. And if you look carefully at the bonuses that are provided in the bottom of that tooltip, it's actually the maximum bonuses from this admiral. So you're basically adding a second admiral on top of any fleets which are operating in this area, which is pretty sick. And just to demonstrate, you can see we have the task force named Japanese Empire Task Force 2. They are operating in the Gulf of Thailand, and you can see out of the task forces listed here, number 2 is not one because they're out of range. So this can be good. And again, another good reason to build up ports on your frontier. For example, if you're playing as the United Kingdom, you build up Singapore and you drop a headquarters over here, it's going to significantly increase the strength of all of your fleets over in the Asian Pacific region, especially if you put a good admiral in there. Now, the other new building which is available is the Naval Supply Hub, and this extends the range of your task forces regardless of their home base. So you can see here that we've actually got this fleet based out of Hiroshima. Now you can kind of see going up this direction from Hiroshima, their range is kind of, set. It's just not too far away, maybe about 1 sea zone out. However, they can actually reach all the way down to here. So why is that? It's because in Taiwan, we actually have one of these naval supply hubs. So as you can see, it's like a range extender. So this can be a bit of an easier way of, giving your fleets, maybe keeping their home ports safe, but still extending their range out from there. Now, just like the naval headquarters, they can only be built in a province where you already have a naval base of at least level 8. So keep that in mind. It is quite an investment to build a new one, but it can be helpful. With the new DLC, there are also some new special projects. We have the escort carrier, We have support ships, which gives us access to the repair ship and the support ship. And then we have the submarine carrier. With the submarine carrier, which is honestly pretty sick idea, you can add on a rear submarine carrier hangar, which is its own module design. It gives you a submarine deck size of only 3. However, if you were to put a few naval bombers on here, it would allow you to do some pretty, far-reaching, convoy raiding or even, port strike raids. Escort carriers are a smaller and cheaper version of a larger carrier, although the trade-off of that is with their escort carrier hangars that they fit on there, they only increase the capacity for your planes by 10. So you do have a smaller deck size. However, though, if you were to remove all these other things in the armor, 5,000 for a carrier, which can have 40 planes on it, is not too bad. And then the other ships which are available are the repair ship and the support ship. So these aren't able to be customized. They're kind of like your convoys. You would place, a couple of production lines and it would just tick over constructing them. And the way you use these, we actually have a support ship in this task force. And you can actually see by this icon in the task force panel, the benefit it provides. So depending on the size of your task force and the amount of support ships and repair ships that are allocated to it, it will impact what bonus it receives. So just with one single support ship on this task force of about 40 boats, you can see we get a 5% recovery rate, increases our range by 5% and our org by 5%. And then if we were to have a look at the other one, which just has a single repair ship, reduces our attrition by 2%, reduces the chance of critical hits, and increases our ship's recovery chance. You can see that there's like a support value as well, one ship providing like 100 out of 350. Now I've just added on some extra repair ships and support ships to each of these task forces. And if you hover over now, you can see these are actually pretty significant bonuses that they're getting, especially, reducing the chance of critical hits by almost 20%. That is, and you can see at maximum capacity on this one, it reduces it by 25%. So these ships don't have any offensive capabilities of their own. However, the effect that they have in multiplying your fleet's, damage and the effects and their chance of survival, these are going to be really, really powerful. The other thing that has changed, not just for the Navy, but also for the land and air doctrines, is the doctrine system. The way this works now is you set a grand doctrine as your primary one, and the same 3 base ones of trade interdiction, fleet in-being, and base strike still remain. And then you will set a sub-doctrine for each different type of naval vessel that you have. You still need to use Navy XP to unlock your Grand Doctrine and the Sub-Doctrine, but once you have done so, this particular ship type, so whether it's your submarine, screen, carrier, or capital ships, they will generate mastery, which as that's generated and you hit these different levels, it will unlock the various doctrines and the bonuses associated with that. When you're looking at the benefits that each of these provide, click on this little icon in the bottom right, and that will show you all of the bonuses that will be unlocked in the future. The milestones will also unlock for your Grand Doctrine too, so you can see below this top part all the future ones to come. Now, the same concept still remains. Base strike is best for your carriers, fleet in being is best for your battleships, and trade interdiction is best for your submarines and your convoy raiding activities. Interestingly, in this one, and other nations will have this too, our Admiral Yamamoto actually favors this doctrine, and he'll grant bonus mastery if he's assigned as a theorist in our officer corps. The naval spirits have also changed a bit with the new DLC. Firstly, there's a lot more options that you have to pick from, and it's well worth taking your time to go through and see what the different effects are. You can actually see that some of them here are unavailable to us, and that's because depending on your chosen Grand Doctrine and Sub-Doctrines, some will be available and some may not. So take your time, have a look through at what these do, and enjoy the changes. So there you have it, all the changes that are coming in the new DLC, no compromise, no surrender. Some of these features, such as just the general naval system itself, will actually be included in the base game as a free update. Things like the naval headquarters, the special projects and whatnot, they will be DLC exclusive. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. I would actually really love to hear what your thoughts are on this, and if there's anything else that you think maybe could be added in the future to make this a bit more player friendly, a bit more exciting. I think this has been well overdue. People have been asking for some change to the naval system for a long time, and it's great that Paradox has listened. As I said at the start, I think it's actually going to make it probably a bit easier for people to understand and play over time as they get used to it. The benefit being, most people didn't really know how to use the Navy before anyway, so this change is not going to have that big of an impact for most people to have to learn how to use it. Thank you again to Paradox for sponsoring this video. Don't forget, the new DLC, No Compromise, No Surrender, comes out on the 20th of November, and you can pick it up through the link in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.